don't be afraid to be messy in a nice way. Don't be afraid to mess up. That's a better way to put it.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Facts Over Feelings, where we are at Turning Point USA America Fest, and the energy is just incredible here. And what's even more incredible is my next guest that I have here is Miss Elizabeth Gibson. She's a Christian content creator, Miss Oklahoma City. She's dealt with all sorts of adversity throughout her life, from health issues to bullying, and she teaches people a safe approach to social media and helps people find their way to find their passion when it comes to content creation as well. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'd love to just hear about your background, your story, and your American dream story. You can share with everybody here.
Absolutely. So I always had a dream of being an actress, and I am an actress as well.
And where did that dream come from?
I don't know exactly. Well, I started as a figure skater, and then I did that for 8 years, had to quit because I had ankle surgery. And then I fell into acting because my mom said, mourn what you're doing, mourn what you're having to lose now. At 11 years old, mourn what you're having to lose now, but we need to move on. And we need to, and it was probably one of the best things that she could have taught me, was that not to sit in the sadness, that you can be sad, but don't stay there. And so then I was trying to rack my brain of different things that I could do post ankle surgery, so I couldn't do any sports. And I remembered I loved going to the theater with my grandma, and she would take us to the touring Broadway shows every single year. She had season tickets, and I said, I love doing that, so I'll take the theater class. Why not? I did my very first musical. It was Flat Stanley Jr. the musical.
Oh, it's awesome.
And
congrats.
From there, thank you. 12-year-old me is beaming with pride. And from there, said, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I got my degree in acting, and when the pandemic happened, my whole life, like a lot of people, shifted. And that year I was doing a school project called the Curiosity Project, and the rules for it was, and as an acting major, I don't know why they put that in our class, but it was my favorite project that I ever did in college.
And why was that one of your favorite projects?
Because we had to study something, and it could be whatever we wanted. It just had to be research based.
So you kind of got to embrace that creativity side of it.
But I had it as something completely different. I had it based on my older platform that I had for Miss Oklahoma, which was talking about, the importance of, if you see something, say something, the warning signs of school shootings. And when the pandemic happened, I know, intense topic, I scrapped that because I said, I'm not going to be going to Miss Oklahoma this year. I just want something fun that's going to take my mind off the pandemic. And I changed it in the last 2 months of doing this, after doing it for like 7 months, going, how to become TikTok famous. Yeah. And I didn't think it would work until it did. And I am so blessed and fortunate.
And here you are, TikTok famous, right? 400,000 followers strong, right?
I am,
that's
amazing.
Blessing. Well, I guess, tell us about that journey, because that didn't just happen overnight. I think a lot of times people have a misconception of success. Overnight success is usually overnight of 5 years, 10 years of hard work. What did your 5 or 10 year journey look like when you spoke it into existence? This is what I'm going to do. What did that look like to finally see the realm of success that you're seeing today?
Well, it started actually, the first success I really had was going viral out of nowhere. I had just an interesting video that was about something that happened in my life, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It was something, I was doing a trend, put a finger down and then I did a really hyper specific thing. And I got so much hate on it. And I was getting death threats, and it was so unnecessary, to the point that I ended up deleting the video. And it really hurt my growth. And so every once in a while, actually, this is really cool. Every once in a while, I'll hit a point in my career where I go, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Maybe God has something different for me. And then it's almost like, because I never say that to someone. It's just a thought in my head. And then it's almost like God will put a confirmation back in my life that same day that that's what I should be doing. And it's not like I'm sitting here going, God, what do you, like, it's just something in the back of my head. And then God goes, nope, this is where you're supposed to be. Yep. And he shoves me back into it.
And you get those God ideas, and when you know, when it hits you, you know it. And
yep.
You
I know that this
lean
is where
into
I'm
it.
supposed to be, because God keeps, like, in one way or another, telling me that this is where I should be.
No, absolutely. And I know a lot of times from what I hear from most people, it's, really not our education system that's planting these seeds in us to go out and do big things in the world, right? And it had to come from somewhere. So for you, where was that somewhere, and how could somebody else maybe get a little bit of what you had to try to, start their own journey?
So I would say that a lot of my motivation and my ability to believe that I can do all the things I do came from my parents. Because my parents never shot down anything that I wanted to do. If it was something that intrigued me, I tried it. And they really just encouraged me, you can do as much as you want to. Don't, stifle your dreams. Go out and try it, because...
Yeah, just like right here on this bracelet,
yes.
with God, all things are possible.
Yes, exactly. Right? And I know that if it's something that's meant to be in my life, that God's going to put it there. And if it's something you're really supposed to do, you can't stop it, and you can't create it like yourself. That's all God.
And how, through that process, how have you learned the difference? Because I think some people might struggle with this, between a great idea and a God idea. Because it might be your great idea, but that's different from a God idea. And how have you gotten the clarity that you knew this was God's purpose for you?
It's kind of a gut feeling, I think,
for
me.
Like an intuition?
Yeah, intuition. Really praying, but also having the people around me be incredibly supportive of it. I'm of the belief that granted, everyone's situations are different.
Yep.
I've been blessed with such a great family that's supportive of me. And if for some reason I was going to be doing something that was not what I should be doing, they would tell me and they wouldn't hold back. And
they would tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, let's maybe do something a little bit different.
I think it's it sounds like a silly analogy, but I think it's kind of the same way with dating, where like if you're dating someone that is, maybe it's not your person, but it's the right person for you at that moment, your family's going to be on board. They're not going to be hesitant. They're going to love that person. And I think it's kind of the same thing with your calling that God has for your life. If it's something that you should be doing, then the people around you are going to be really supportive of you and want to help you and support you and build you up for that.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm hearing as a commonality as you speak here is the people around you, the people around you, the people around you. For you, it was your family. You had the right people around you. And I'm a big believer too that the people around you that influence you, like you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. And sometimes if you don't have the right family that's the positive influence, because nobody has that, I think people need to realize sometimes that a lot of times you can't do great things alone, and you got to surround yourself with great people. And if you don't have family, you can find family.
Oh, absolutely. I say my family, and oftentimes when I say family too, it also includes my friends.
Yeah, that's what I call family. They're friends that are like family. Yeah. When it comes to being a content creator that you are, I think there's a lot of people out there that desire to do that, but they let the failure part get it down, because we're caught up into this world where people can't even keep their attention to watch a social media reel for more than 60 seconds. So to get them to dedicate their attention with enough consistency and persistence, it's a very rare commodity. What do you have to say to people to, kind of develop that sort of wherewithal where you can continue to fail forward with great enthusiasm? Because I think that's the formula of success.
Yes, absolutely. I would say every single time that you are putting yourself out there, whether you are getting 100 views or 100,000 views, that is you putting yourself in front of more people. And something I constantly was having to remind myself was that a room of 100 people, 100 views might not seem like a lot, but a room of 100 people is a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
And you may feel like you're not getting as far as you want, but all it takes is maybe one post after the next that creates the momentum to give you what you're wanting.
And how many posts did it take you to get that one post that finally went viral?
Well, see, that one I think my first one was a little bit of a fluke, I think, but because it was kind of not my normal content that I was making. But I want to say I went probably 2 months before I actually went viral for content. But you know, the algorithm, most of the time you can predict it, but sometimes you can't. So you just have to keep trying and find out what works best for you. But ultimately, if you're enjoying it and you're having fun, then as long as you're authentically yourself, people will enjoy it. People will come. There is a audience for every type of content.
Absolutely. What do you have to say to people out there that are maybe, they got it in their heart, they want to speak up for Christianity, they want to speak up for conservative principles, but we just went through 4 years where we created an environment that was very difficult for some people to do that. What would you recommend for a first step to them finding their true voice? Because you found yours in such a great way. Yeah.
I would say, don't be afraid to be messy in a nice way. Don't be afraid to mess up. That's a better way to put it. You're not going to say everything 100%. I promise you, like, I have said things today on other podcasts that I go, ooh, why did I say it that way? But you move on and you continue to talk, and then you end up here where you're saying things very well. But I would say ultimately when it comes to talking about your faith, leading in love, and leading in love for others, but also for yourself and for Jesus, because you got to give people grace. Everyone's coming from a different worldview and they only know what they know.
Yeah, you don't know somebody else's circumstances and situation.
And so just asking yourself, the cliche phrase that we all hear, but it's so true, what would Jesus do? And loving them like Jesus would.
No, I absolutely love that. Love that. What is, if everybody out there that's listening, when it comes to bullying, maybe they're a student, they're in school, whether it's high school, college, what is it that they can do to, I guess, be against that narrative and be the change?
I would say if you see someone that is being bullied, standing up for them, it's really hard that first time to tell the bully to stop.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, if you do it once, you don't have to do it again. And that person that is being bullied will remember that for the rest of their life. And then maybe they'll stand up for the next person that's being bullied. And if we just call out kids that are bullying and telling them, that's not okay, that's not cool,
yep,
then oftentimes, most people aren't doing that. But if you do that, then they'll stop. You just got to...
Yeah, so it's just awareness, like finding their voice. And if enough people do it, then, they can shift the landscape. I love it, too, because I think I used to have the mentality, like, I'd sit there and pray. I'm like, man, God, why are you doing this to me? What did I do to deserve it? But when I realized I had this tipping point in my life, I started to recognize patterns that every time something that quote unquote happened to me, it wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me, because on the other side of that was a door that opened that was 10 times bigger. And then I realized that sometimes God operates through the lens of challenges and adversity because it makes us stronger. It allows us to achieve a level of understanding so that we can go out there and be compassionate enough to help other people through that same journey that might not have the strength and the wherewithal that we do. As we wrap up in some of the final questions I love to ask are, if you had an executive pen, you're the president of the United States, and you could wave that pen and anything you want to shape and shift America, what's the America that you would want to create and the one order that you would want to, I guess, execute to leave a lasting legacy of your choosing?
I think making sure that we have a safe social media would be something that I would do. Specifically how that looks
making
like.
Making sure there's what?
Safe social media.
Safe social media?
Yeah, because right now our children...
Like data protection, safe social media.
Specifically like what you're putting out there and who can be on it, because children are so impressionable and there are so many bad things on the internet that like they can just stumble upon. Like on there, you can just get bombarded with content that is inappropriate, not okay, and should not be on the internet, and it's just right on your phone.
No, I love that. And I guess last but not least, we ask every single guest at the end of the show, what does facts over feelings mean to you?
I'd say a lot of times we let our feelings dictate what we think. If we're being bullied and being told that we're worthless or whatever it is, then we start to believe it. You hear it enough that you start to internalize it and think that must be true. And so I feel very sad and very upset that that's how how I am. But that's not
the real reality.
The fact is that, again, you're fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, and every single person is beautiful because of that. And I would say reminding yourself in the midst of feelings, we all have feelings, it's inevitable that we all sometimes go to a dark place, but reminding yourselves of the facts so that you can continue on to make, a happy world and have a good life.
No, I love that. Well, great answer. And thank you so much
much
for coming on our show today, Facts Over Feelings.